Hello, Professor Usko. I am Hemant Kumar Gogineni, and today I am here to give presentation on one of our topics, top 10 IDs for software development. And my teammates are Shushma Dadi. And going ahead into the next slide, we have table of contents, and these are the topics today I'm going to discuss. And they are IDE introduction, history of IDE, benefits of IDE and types, and futures, and graphical view of top 10 IDs and top 10 IDs for software development, and pros and consequences of IDs. And it was followed by real world examples, and then comparisons of all IDs, and conclusion and references. And going ahead into the next slide, we have what is an IDE. An IDE stands for Integrated Development Environments, and it consists of the basic tools needed for software testing and developing. And the applications of IDEs consist the development of other applications. And these are designed to encompass all the programming tasks in one applications. And the benefits of IDEs that they have the certificate with all the tools of which developer needs, and the standalone application that it might be included as part of one of the compatible applications, and an IDE is software that you can reload from one computer to another computer. And next followed by history of IDE. And history of IDE, the programmers wrote their programs in text editors, in it involving writing and saving of our applications data in code editors, taking note of any error messages, and then going back to text editors to revise their code. It was until 1983 Borland Limited acquired a Pascal computer, and they have published it as Turbo Pascal. And the futures are integrated editor and compiler at very fast time. And this Turbo Pascal was launched with the idea of an integrated development environment. But I believe Microsoft's Visual Basic (VB), and it was launched in 1991. Actually, the first real IDE in history. This was to build older basic language programming language through 1980s. And the benefits of using an IDE. And the benefits are it work developer productivity. And also it improves developer productivity. And they improves by lessing up step up time and boosting the speeds and keeping developers up to date, and also standardizing the development process to everyone. And for more benefit, IDs can help restructure the development process by promoting holistic strategizing, and they push programmers to think of their actions in time of SDLC lifecycle, and it's a series of isolated tasks. And going ahead to the next slide, we have types of IDs. And different types of IDs are multi-language IDs, and IDs for mobile development, and HTML IDs, and cloud-based IDs. And the examples of multi-language IDs are Eclipse, Apna, Comado, NetBeans, etc. And Eclipse comes under IDs for mobile development. And HTML IDs, examples are Dreamweaver and Homesite, etc. And going into the next slide, we have features of IDs. These are the different features of IDs. The first one is code editor, compiler, debugger, syntax highlighter, graphical user interface, source code library, and code search and integrations. The first one is code editor. Here the programmers write code and edits if they need to change anything in their programs. And the compiler usually translate the code into the language that computer can understand. And debugger, this debugger finds the programmer to find errors, and that also prevent their code from compiling. And syntax highlighter, this one highlights the syntaxes in the code which in different colors. And the graphical user interface, and the graphical user interface contains all the buttons, features that will help the programmer to do their task very easily. And source code library is the resource that consists of scripts and libraries with an integrated development, and it also have the save resources used in their projects. And code search is a function within the IDE, and that allows programmers to search their code, and also helps them to make their work easier, and also it will find the specific lines in their programs. And integrations, and integrations are plugins with different services and websites. They connect directly to the IDE, and they're helpful find resources to save the programmer time, and it also helps in performing research by manually connecting with other programs. And these are the top 10 IDE index you can see here. And moving to the next slide, we have top 10 IDs for software development. These are the top 10 IDs: Visual Studio, PHP Storm, Eclipse, NetBeans, IntelliJ IDEA, PyCharm, Apatna Studio 3, Xcode, WebStorm, and Komodo IDE. This is how Visual Studio looks like. And Visual Studio is the one of the best IDE which was available, and this uses artificial intelligence to learn from your edits and it finished of sentences. And on the top of that, we can collaborate with our team live, and we can edit and debug. We can also share servers, terminals, and comments. And this Visual Studio supports web development, mobile development, application development, and game development, etc. You can see list here. And you can also create development environments in the cloud with lot more being available for Windows, Mac, Android, iOS, web, and in the cloud. And the features of this Visual Studio Code are: we can write our code accurately and efficiently, and we can identify and fix issues, and we can write our own extensions, and we can quickly find errors, and it's also very easy to debug, and it's also find and diagnose performance issues, and it plans and execute and also monitors your entire testing effort, and it can manage your source code in Git, and also manages codes and bugs, and it consists of a variety of tools, controls, templates which are available from Microsoft and their partners. And this is the one more IDE, PHP Storm, and is the another option for the best IDE, and it focuses on PHP front-end languages like HTML, CSS, SAS, JavaScript, etc. And it also supports websites such as WordPress, Drupal, Joomla, Laravel, and others. And it's easy to navigate and autocomplete codes, and it also is to debug for testing, and it's quick and refactoring. And the like smart IDEs for PHP supports, and also frameworks including Drupal, WordPress, Zen framework, Laravel, and Zomla, and more, etc. And deep understanding of your code and its structures support for all PHP languages. And it futures has both modern and legacy projects for the solid option for PHP developers. And the futures of these are it supports languages like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and it's also used for remote deployment, and it supports PHP and databases like SQL, and it has command line tools, and it includes all features of WebStorm, and it's easy to debug and it's easy to test, and it's the fast and safe refactoring process, and it also supports Docker in remote interpreters. And the next one is Eclipse Foundation. And going more deep into the Eclipse is the open source community for JavaScript, and also there are tools, for example, HTML, CSS, and its contributors includes Google, Netflix, Facebook, G, and Walmart. And it also create both dynamic front ends and powerful backends with the same IDE. And is it possible to create quality applications using latest technologies. And it also has the plugin options that help for support its development framework. And this Eclipse works with Fortran, Haskell, C, C++, JavaScript, PHP, Python, Ruby, the other programming languages. And going ahead to the next slide, we have the key features. And the key features are is the latest one, and it has the built-in libraries and wizards, and it has the database tooling and persistence, and it has built-in Tomcat server, and it also helps in Maven project management. And it has the enterprise reporting. It also has the popular app server connectors, and it also the code live with live preview. And it also supports Angular 2, and it's also used for validation and autocomplete of HTML. And going ahead into the next slide, we have Apache NetBeans. Is one of the best IDE. Uh, it supports Java languages and also other programming languages. And it's an online IDE for Android development on Java. And it's as a growing development environment for users, which you can get almost accurate answers for advanced users. And the popular options are the best IDs because it's a nonsense software for Java, and it's for JavaScript, PHP, and HTML, and also CSS. And it helps you to create bug-free websites by highlighting code, not just syntactically, but it's semantically. And it also has a lot of powerful refactoring tools which are being open source. And this develop web applications quickly and easily with JavaScript, Java, and HTML, CSS. And it's the free and open source. And it has a robust community of users and developers worldwide. And going ahead to the next slide, we have key features. Is the official IDE for Java 8, and the search multiple apps simultaneously, and the NetBeans add intense lines, matches, votes, and brackets, and it also automatically highlights code syntactically and semantically. And this one also supports Java, C++, HTML, and JavaScript, etc. And it has the extensible editor to support other languages, and it's very easy to manage projects with multiple data views, and it has the built-in tools for Subversion, Mercurial, and Git integration. And going ahead into the next slide, we have IntelliJ IDEA, and it's one of the best IDE for Java, and it focused on features to help productive as possible without cluttering up the GUI. And the indexes your code on your relevant suggestions, and it will complete the code for you. And it also automates several tasks that would otherwise which are repetitive. And that has the bag of chips, computer chips, because the amazing outbox experience which are used for Java. And while it's focused on it, it's still great for SQL, HTML, JavaScript, and other languages. And it also offers code assistance for languages such as Spring, Android, React, Angular, JS, and etc. And this IDE is the robust development environment with wide functionality and which are used for development needs, and it also extend robust robust plugin ecosystem. And the key features of this are powerful static code analysis, and it has the smart completion, chain completion, and it is also used for data flow analysis, and it also having code assistance for selected languages, and it has the editor centric environment, and it has the plenty of shortcuts. And here we have the test runner and coverage facility in this, and it has the built-in decompiler for Java classes. And going ahead to the next slide, we have PyCharm. This is the one of the most used IDE, and it's best for Python, and it supports other languages for web development, and it checks for errors of your code, and it has autocomplete option too, and it has the sleek minimal GUI for uncluttered development. And it also checks the quality of your code, and it also supports JavaScript, CoffeeScript, TypeScript, SQL, HTML, Node.js, etc. And within the it has the built-in options of tools, and it has the complete solutions for Python developers who use this IDE, and it has the multiple licensing options, and all they are free. And this one includes code editing, refactoring, testing, debugging tools, and editors for HTML, JavaScript, JSON, etc. And going ahead to the next slide, we have the key features for this. And it write the code very smart, and it has the automated code refactoring and rich navigation menu, and it integrates with IPython notebook, and it can support Anaconda plus scientific packages including Matplotlib and NumPy, and it can run, debug, test, and deploy apps on virtual machines and remote hosts. It is the Python profiler and built-in terminal, and it also has the built-in database tools. And from here, my teammate Sushma will continue. Thank you, Professor.
Hello, hello, Dr. Usko. I'm Sushma Dadi. I'm from Team 4. I would like to give a presentation on top 10 IDs for software web development in 2022. Up to now, uh, you have seen about what is an IDE, introduction, history, benefits, types, features, and also the top 10 IDEs for software development in 2022, which is explained by one of our teammate Hemant Gogineni. Now I would like to continue from here. So here uh, in this presentation, we have selected the top 10 IDEs for software development in 2022. Uh, Now I'm going to explain from the pie chart. So, PyCharm is one of the best primary IDE for Python. but the premium version also supports for other languages for web development as well as for software development. And it also supports offering for JavaScript, TypeScript, CoffeeScript, Python, SQL, and some of the front-end languages like HTML and CSS as well. And this also includes code editing, refactoring, testing, and debugging tools like editors for HTML, XML, YAML, and JSON, and RelaxNG, and also support version for control from GitHub, CVS, and more, as well as a number of customizable UI features. So, in PyCharm is built with a slew of built-in out-of-the-box tools, and PyCharm is a complete solution for Python developers who need an IDE that supports multiple languages. Nowadays, Python is one of the best booming programming languages for front-end developers, and also for the web developers. So I think PyCharm is one of the best IDE, and it also has many features and checks for errors as you code, and also has autocomplete. So this is the logo for the PyCharm website that you can see here. And PyCharm has some of the key features that I am going to explain now. Like, it has a smart code completion, like we just discussed, that autocomplete feature, and also the code assistant, error highlighting and quick fixes, and some of the features like automated code refactoring and rich navigation, and it interacts Python console. um, in the in the PyCharm, we can run, debug, test, and deploys apps on virtual machines and remote hosts. uh, it is integrated with debugger and test runner also. It also supports modern web development frameworks including Django, Flask, Google App Engine, Pyramid, and Web2Py. So here we can see the code and code in the screen. This is just an example in the PyCharm. So these are some of the features. Next, we are going to the another IDE, that is Aptana Studio 3. This is also one of the best IDE for web and software development options available. It's also an open source, and also it offers most tools necessary for web development, such as code assistance for HTML up to 5, like HTML5, CSS, and JavaScript. And Aptana Studio 3 offers a variety of features for which other web development IDs may require subscription, like PHP Storm and WebStorm. They require a subscription. And it supports for JavaScript editors and libraries, CSS editors, and also more. Uh, and another thing about Aptana Studio 3 is supporting all major browser technologies. Specs like Aptana Studio 3 eliminates compatibility and testing obstacles to enable rapid deployment. And uh, we can also customize the graphical user interface, and it also has a built-in terminal, git integration, a debugger, as well as a deployment wizard. And also best feature, autocomplete, is also available for HTML, CSS, and JavaScript languages. So this is the homepage view of the Aptana Studio 3 for the website that you can see here. There are some of the key features for the Aptana Studio 3, like it supports latest HTML5 specifications that we just discussed before, and also supports multiple protocols including FTP, SFTP, FTPS, and and so on. and it needs customization, like extend the core capabilities through scripting of custom commands, and integrated debugger allowing you to set breakpoints, inspect variables, and control executions. um, as you can see that it can be accessible for the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript code assist to aid authoring of HTML, CSS, JavaScript, PHP, and Ruby. So, and it automatically publish Ruby and Rail apps to hosting services like Heroku and IngenuAd. So this is just an example of Aptona Studio 3. So next we are going to explain about Xcode. Uh, Xcode is an essential toolkit that is designed for Mac users and iPhone, iPad, Apple TV, and iOS versions. iOS versions, not for the Windows. So it supports for up to Swift 5.3 code editing tools, multiple compilers, debugging tools that include graphical debugging, testing tools such as XC-Test API capabilities for building unit tests, as well as support for plugins, and an SDK with a Mac-based simulator. The newest build of Xcode, Xcode 12, now offers SDKs for iOS 14, iPad OS 14, TV OS 14, and Watch OS 7, and Mac OS Big. And not only is Xcode a fully equipped IDE, but it is also the premium IDE for Apple development, because the developers who are who the developers who works for the Apple, they mostly prefer the Xcode only because it is the premium IDE for the Apple development, and the Xcode IDE is at the center of the Apple development experience. It integrates with Cocoa and Cocoa Touch frameworks and offers powerful tools. So here we can see the homepage view of the Xcode that you can see here. So there are some key features for the Xcode IDE, like assistant editor presence related source code in a split window pane, and Apple LLMV compiler technologies also included for the Xcode IDE, and it communicates with Apple developer website. Um, it's a version editor and source control editor also. Here we can simply drag the mouse to connect UI controls to implementation code, and it is capable of setting up a remote bot for continuously building, analyzing, testing, and packaging your app. So it totally works for the Apple iOS development process. So I think it's the best IDE for Apple development, and it also has a best feature, like it automatically identifies mistakes and offers quick fix suggestions. So this is just an example for Xcode uh, code view IDE. So here we can see the WebStorm. The next ID is WebStorm. WebStorm is on the list as one of the best ID for web and software development because it's excellent for JavaScript. A smart JavaScript IDE, WebStorm is both lightweight and powerful, as well as equipped for complex client-side and server-side development with Node.js. Intelligent code assistance and support for the latest technologies make WebStorm a valuable tool for web developers. It includes not only code auto completion and live error detection, but it also has a debugger, unit testing, and many integrations such as Git, GitHub, Mercurial, and others as well. and also it loads quickly on startup and can automate many tedious tasks for increased productivity. So next we can see a homepage view of the WebStorm website here. There are some key features for the WebStorm IDE, like it 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 has debugging, tracing, and testing modules, and also support for Flow, TypeScript, and React Native. And it supports frameworks include Angular, JS, React, Meteor, and more. And it also has powerful navigation and refactoring, and the best feature is smart code completion on the fly error detection. And it also has some features like unified UI for working with Git SVN, Mercurial, and others as well. So this is an example view of the WebStorm uh, IDE. Next, we are going to explain about Komodo IDE. Komodo IDE is also one of the best IDE for web development, but it's a premium option. It asks for premium. So it has a lot of features, including autocomplete, visual debugger, unit testing add-ons, team collaborations, project management tools, and more. As we can as we can see here. It also supports syntax highlighting for virtually every language and supports smart coding features for Python, PHP, Perl, TCL, Go, Ruby, Node.js, JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. It has a low system requirement. So for its low system requirements, Komodo hosts many features. It is ideal for those looking for lightweight IDE that can also easily support multiple languages. It has a number of general and language specific debugging features, which include support for Python, PHP, uh, Perl, XSLT, and Chrome. These features range from graphical debugging to multi-process debugging to multi-threaded debugging, and it has a uh, it also includes smart code editing features such as refactoring, search navigation, and XML complete. Likewise, other IDs just we have gone through. So this is about Komodo IDE, and here we can see just a logo of the Komodo IDE of the website we have. And we also have some it also has some key features, like it supports 100 plus languages on any operating system, and we can use or write tutorials for various languages, including Catalyst, Django, Flask, Pyramid, Rails, and more as well. uh, it can run emulators, build targets, and easily interact with Cordova and PhoneGap. And it also supports popular web frameworks like React and AngularJS, and it debug web apps without Chrome tools. It has a best feature for the Komodo IDE, and this is just an example of Komodo IDE code page. And now we are going to see the pros and cons of top 10 IDEs for the software development in 2022. Here, this is the list of the top 10 IDEs we have, and there are some pros and cons for each IDE. As we can see here, uh, so the advantage of Visual Studio is it supports number of features and it is versatile in nature, whereas it's heavy in weight and expensive. So these are some of the disadvantages. Coming to the PHP Storm, it's reliable and powerful, and there are some disadvantages, like it supports no free version and it supports only English UI, so it's difficult for some of the users to buy the premium, or for the users who don't know English. So PHP Storm has some disadvantage main disadvantages. And coming to the Eclipse, it's free and it's also versatile like Visual Studio, and it has an active community. And where are coming to the disadvantages of Eclipse, it has unreliable plugins and it has a dull UI user interface. Coming to the NetBeans IDE, it's also free and community driven and reliable, so anybody can use NetBeans IDE without any subscription plan. And it has some disadvantages like unreliable plugins and outdated UI. And coming to the fifth IDE, that is Intel's IDEA, it supports free version and it has a pleasant UI that uh, like it has two main advantages, so that everyone can use Intel's IDEA. And some of the disadvantages are limited features for community license, and it is somewhat slow compared to the other IDEs. And next we are going to see the PyCharm, uh, which has which is a community version available, but the price is high and it's heavy. Coming to the disadvantages, and the next one is Aptana Studio 3. uh, it is simple in nature and it has low system requirements, but coming to the disadvantages, it's not intuitive for beginners and no centralized support. And coming to the Xcode, it is essential for iOS development, cutting edge features. These are some of the advantages. And uh, coming to the disadvantages, it's pricey. As we all know, iOS gadgets are pricey compared to the Windows, so it's pricey and lack of customization, and it's heavy also. So coming to the ninth one, it is WebStorm and it supports pleasant UI, and it has number of features, and also coming to the disadvantages, uh, uh, as it has number of features but it has limited features for community license. So this is the one disadvantage that WebStorm has. And Komodo ID, it's free and versatile in nature. And coming to the disadvantages, it's expensive and it is English UI only, so it's hard for some of the users to access it. So these are some of the pros and cons for top 10 IDs. So here we are going to see the real world examples for all the top 10 IDs. So first, the Visual Studio. These are some of the companies: Accenture, Intuit, Usain are some of the companies that are using Visual Studio, and these are their websites. And Xerox, uh, Skyhook Interactive, and GmbH. These are the companies that are using PHP Storm, and these are their websites. And Incentro, ITS Technologies, and Voxify are some of the companies that are using Eclipse, and these are their websites. And for NetBeans, STS, ProSure, and TechStack are the companies that are adopted NetBeans, and these are their websites. And Udemy, Cred, Asana are some of the companies that are using Intellis IDEA, and these are their company websites. And for the PyCharm, PyCharm is used by some companies like Lendit, Zoomgo, Hiver, and these are their websites. And Aptana Studio 3 is adopted by some of the companies like Blackface Group, Search Engine Optimization, uh, and Lenovo Group Limited, and these are their websites, and Daily Motion, SCA, Blackface Group, Search Engine, Red Hat, and these are some of the companies that are using Xcode, and these are their websites. And Begin, Blaze, Kevin are some of the companies that are using WebStorm, and these are their websites. And Glue, Day Delegate, Rhymes Technologies are using Komodo ID, and these are their websites. So here we can see the IDs, and companies that are using the different types of IDs, and we can also see their websites. So now we are going to see the comparisons between the IDEs. So here we have compared Storm with Visual Studio Code. Uh, it it seems like there are no awards for both IDEs, but the smart score for the PHP is 8.9, whereas for the Visual Studio IDE is 9.0, and the user satisfaction level is high for PHP Storm, that is 99, compared to the Visual Studio Code, that is 96%. These are all from the website that we gathered the information. And the pricing model the pricing starts from $53 for the PHP, and whereas the Visual Studio Code is with $45, and it PHP Storm is not free, and it accepts only monthly payment and annual subscription, whereas the Visual Studio Code is free for some languages and monthly payment, and it accepts for monthly payments and annual subscription, same as like PHP Storm. And now we can see the comparison between Eclipse and NetBeans. Here the smart score is 8.0 for NetBeans and 8.5 per Eclipse, and the user satisfaction level is 94% for NetBeans as well as 97 for Eclipse. So we can see high ratings for the Eclipse compared to the NetBeans. And the pricing models are free for both IDs, and both are free. So that is a common point between them. And now we can see the comparison between IntelliJ versus PyCharm. The smart score for PyCharm is 8.7, while smart score for IntelliJ is 8.9. So here you can see 100% user satisfaction for the PyCharm, because it's booming nowadays compared to the IntelliJ ID, whereas it has only 94%, and the price starting from 8.90. I think it's very cheap, and so that's why it is called one of the best IDE, and the price starts from $149 for IntelliJ IDE. So next we are going to see the Aptana Studio versus Xcode. So the smart score for Xcode is 9.8, whereas for the Aptana is 7.0, because it doesn't have a pleasant UI, and it also outdated. So, and the user satisfaction level is 96% for Xcode, whereas the user satisfaction is not available for Aptana Studio. And the pricing is free for both the IDs. And next, we can see a comparison between WebStorm and Komodo IDE, whereas the smart score for Komodo is 7.7, whereas for the WebStorm is 8.9. And the user satisfaction is 90% and 94% for Komodo and WebStorm, respectively. The pricing starts from $147 to the Komodo IDE, and the pricing starts from uh, for this IDE is 5.90. So it accepts only one-time payment and code, and it is code based. And and WebStorm accepts monthly payment and also the annual subscriptions. So, so here I conclude that we have studied a lot of information on IDs, include features, advantages, uh, benefits, history types, and also the top 10 IDs. So there are different types of IDs which may provide different collection of tools as well as features available for their environment. Therefore, keeping in mind about all IDE features and deciding which environment would work best for you in developing an application. So, I'm going to conclude that IDEs features are designed uh, for their according to their features and according to uh, the development process. So I think IDs are booming nowadays, and the best IDs are we have seen the best IDs. So this is about the top 10 IDs for software development in 2022, and here we can see the references that that we have collected the information for this presentation. These are the tool references for the presentation that we used, and thank you, Professor.